Okay, again, we're going to do the table layout 4.5 in Apple Book. I'm going to start by doing a single view. Just like it's kind of very similar to what we did in the last class, where you make a project and then delete the view controller and delete the Swift file and make new view files. And that's what you have to do. The book does the same thing, just like the handout from last week. Today, though, it's going to be an emoji kind of layout, so we're going to call this Emoji Dictionary, E-M-O-J-I, Emoji Dictionary. Oops. A-R-Y. Diction. I'm spelling it wrong already. D-I-O-N. So we call it Emoji Dictionary, and we can leave everything else default inside there, whatever you want. Then choose a place to put it, anywhere you want. Okay, so in this, they talk about the first steps at the top of page 511. The same thing that we did last class, where you go to the Storyboard file, and you don't want this view controller because we're going to use a special view controller for the table layout. And so we're going to click on that, and we're going to hit delete. Okay, and then the next thing you want to do, this is kind of very similar to the handout we did last week, is you're going to delete this view controller Swift file because we're going to have a special one for the table layout, the same thing we did last class where we delete that as well. You can say move to trash or remove reference, just get it out of there somehow. And so that's the first steps at the top of page 511. So then you have a truly blank app canvas to work with. The next step is to create your model. In this project, you're going to display information about different emojis. So you need to create an emoji model object. Remember that model objects should represent the real world objects you want to display to the user. Your emoji structure will have the following properties: a symbol, a name, a description, and a usage. So those are kind of the four elements that will be in each cell. Okay? And you get the idea. If you look down below, you'll see the code will look somewhat like that, where you have a symbol of the emoji, the name of the emoji, the description of the emoji, and what it's good to use for, right? Because you guys all use emoji when you're texting your friends, right? Smiley face, things like that. Before looking at the code segment, try and create a new Swift file called Emoji Swift and the class to represent an emoji. Don't forget the member-wise initializer, which I wasn't sure what that meant, but here we go. To start, I go under File. So we're going to make a new Swift file. So here we go. To make a new Swift file for our project, we go under File, New, and we're going to say File, New File right here. And we're going to use the, not Cocoa Touch, a Swift file. I know we were using the Cocoa Touch before for certain things, and we will go back and we will use a Cocoa Touch for the interaction, but this is a Swift file that's going to define the class that kind of is the overall, controller of all the pieces, right? You need something that controls all the emojis. Basically, we're making a control emoji Swift file, and you can see the code right there. So again, it's a Swift file right here, and I'm going to say next. And then we give it a name. They tell you to call it Emoji Swift. So just E-M-O-J-I-O. I am horrible. There's no O at the end. Emoji. And of course, you don't have to give it Swift. It'll put the Swift at the end. Okay, so you don't have to put that. Then it should put it in your folder, hopefully inside your folder here. It looks like it's going there, right there. So just call it emoji, hit create, and it will make a Swift file. Oh, and if it does put it up there, you can drag it down in here. And just so it's in here, I think it's better that it's inside here. I'm not really sure if there's a problem with it being outside. Again, it puts the foundation, which is the basic things. I don't think you need the UI stuff in here. This is basically the brains of the thing. Oh, my iPad went dead over there. I'm sorry. Should turn off the... Here we go. Again, this is kind of the brains of the project here. So I'm going to type the code in like they have right there. You're basically going to make a class. And then, so in this file, we're going to put in emoji. And then with your curly brackets like that. And then, of course, you need to have variables for each of the elements. That's what they were talking about. So, of course, you need a variable for your symbol. And then it's going to be a string. And then to make my life easier, I'm going to just copy and paste this down and just change the name. So we got a symbol, we got a name, we have description, and we have usage. Okay, so those are the main ones, and you can turn the page. There's still some more code. You need to initialize each one of these so that you can use them. So we're going to initialize them by using the init, and then we're going to initialize them all again by using symbol, and then oops, this way. So just like on page 212, we're going to initialize them, and we'll call that a string, and then you can, I'm going to copy and paste again, lazy. Oh, I'm going to get that little dash there. So I can copy and paste, and so symbol, and then of course we have name again, and we have description, then we have usage, like that, and then of course we don't need this final one there, and then we need to self them so that they can be, the video will talk about the private and the public. So the video, after we type all this in and we watch the video, I learned a lot just about how to deal with and why we use self, why we use private, why we use public and stuff. The video will go over a lot of that stuff for you today, and I learned a lot from that as well. So again, we go self dot symbol equals symbol, and you can copy and paste that if you would like as well. And of course this is going to be name, it's going to be description, and then this is going to be usage and usage. So this is basically making a class that has all the different pieces that you need so that you can make
Don't forget your curly brackets for the beginning of your method.
Which one am I missing?
You need to have open curly brackets.
We need here?
Yeah.
There we go.
And then close.
And then one down here. Thank you. Okay, so again, this is basically preparing all the pieces of your cell. Basically, each cell piece needs to be all these pieces in it. The other nice thing about the cell is it has pre-made stuff already there. You just kind of, when you get to it, you can just kind of put the content in there. Okay, let's continue. So you can finish that while I read to you here. And the anatomy of the table view. So a table view is an instance of the Uitableviewcell class. It may be responsible for displaying one data object or 10,000 of data objects. In order to accommodate many rows of data, table views present data as a scrolling single column list with the option to divide the rows into sections or groups. Each section will have a header above the first item and footer below the last item. The table view itself can have its own header and footer. And, you know, I thought about using the header and footer for the national park thing. So, I mean, that might be possible, but I was having scaling issues. And so what I mean by that is I tried, you know, oh, there's a header at the top of the table view. Maybe I'll just squeeze the name of the park up there. And I did do that. It did put the national park logo up there and the name, but I was having alignment issues and things like that. It was very, I couldn't get it to work. So then they talk about here's another approach, just like what I wrote on the board. There are two ways to add table views to your project depending on how you use the table view. One approach is to add a table view instance directly to the Viewcontroller, which we did for the last class and now. Here you may have other views on your control managers, and the table view is only part of the view. So again, just like everyone, you can have other views. Your view controller manages, and table view is only part of that view. In this case, you're responsible for the auto layout of the table view and therefore can position it anywhere you like. You're also responsible for setting the data objects and delegate objects. You'll learn more about that. And again, most of the video today, it'll talk about data objects and delegate objects, and that's why we're going to watch it. But so here, if you want this kind of layout, and what I'm assuming here is you go and you have a view controller. So instead of doing what we did at the very beginning, deleting the view controller, you actually keep the view controller, and down here, you grab a table layout and you drag it on to the piece, and then you set your alignment and things like that. So the table layout can still be used, but instead of it being the whole thing, you keep the view controller somehow. This is what I'm assuming. I haven't even done this yet. This is what I'm assuming by reading this, is that you drag a table layout and it becomes part of it. I think it's possible. I just haven't tried it. Maybe one of you can try it and see. Let's continue with the project here. The second approach is to add a table view controller to your storyboard. A table view controller is the view controller subclass that manages a single table view instance. Here the table view takes up the entire view, and you can't adjust the table view size. The table view controller also acts as the data source and delegate of the table view. An extra advantage of the table view controller is that it has a free functionality, which means you don't have to write code to get those features, as opposed to just having a table view on a view controller. One example with the table view controller is that the view will always scroll if the keyboard covers a text field within the table view. With the table view on view controllers, you don't get the functionality and would have to add code like when you use the scroll view. And so we didn't do that lesson, but there is a lesson right before this 4.5 that I'm reading to you from. It's 4.4 that talks about using a scroll view. And so if you have objects that are too big to fit, you have to add an actual scroll view. And that's what they're saying here. If you did the approach like I wrote on the board and you put more data in there, you would actually have to define how it scrolls, is what I'm trying to say. Because of the benefits of the table, most OS programmers prefer the second approach. The second approach would be putting like what we're doing now, where it takes up the whole screen. Okay? Back in your...
And that's what we did last week.
That's what we did last week too. So we haven't even tried what I was just talking board and writing on the board. I haven't even tried that. These both approaches that we did last week and what we're doing today takes up the entire screen. So I don't know how to do it. Maybe we just not, I'm trying to figure that out. There's a lot to it. So again, let's continue with our emoji dictionary project. Drag a navigational controller from the objects library onto the scene. You'll notice the second view controller, a table view controller, automatically comes along. By using the navigational controller, we'll be able to combine adding table views and embedding a navigational controller into one easy step. So here we go. I'm going to go back to the main storyboard over here. And in the main storyboard, I'm going to come over here to the navigational controller. It might be the third one in your list if you haven't typed anything down there. Again, it's just the navigational controller. If you drag the navigational controller out here and just put it on the screen, it automatically makes a table view for you. As you can see, you get two of them. See how I got two things? So if I scroll out, you'll notice I actually have two now. And the reason why is because when you drag a navigational controller out from here, it automatically assumes you want a table view. I don't know, that's what they're saying right there in the book. You might want to make it a little closer so you have a little, here, if I did this to save on some space where I moved it a little closer like that, just so that I save some space. The next thing you need to do is make sure it tells the navigational controller to be the first thing that plays when you test it. So if you click on it to make it blue, make sure you go over here, and in the attributes inspector is initial view controller. Remember we did that with the other one as well. Again, it's right here. That tells it that that's the first thing to play. I think we did that in the last lesson as well. That's on the bottom of page 513. They talk about that. In addition, you need to add a new Cocoa Touch class called Emoji Table View Controller as a subclass of the UI Table Controller. Back in your storyboard, select the Table View Controller and assign Emoji Table View. So we need to make a Cocoa Touch class. Again, the Cocoa Touch class is for the actual interaction. That's what it's for, right? Am I touching something? Am I doing something? So how do we make that Cocoa Touch? Again, on page 513. To do that, I'm going to go over here to where it says File, and I'm going to go New. And again, just like we did with the Swift file, instead of making a Swift file, though, we're going to make a Cocoa Touch. So you go File, New File, and this time, again, we're going to do a Cocoa Touch. And we're going to say Next, and we're going to give it a name. They tell you to name it Emoji Table View Controller. So I'm going to type in Emoji Table View. Oh, view is already there. Table. I made that mistake. View before putting two views in there. Emoji Table View Controller, and then down here it needs to be a UI. Is it a UI View Controller? UI Table View Controller. So change this option down here to the subclass to be a UI Table View Controller because we're using a table view. Okay, so again, name is this. The subclass is UI Table View Controller, and so on. So
How did you take that?
this.
Two tables in your class name?
Oh, it put that in there after I changed it. Ooh, thank you for pointing that out. It automatically looked that added the table in there. Did you see that? So maybe you just call it emoji and it'll put it in there when you choose the subclass. I think I was having those problems too. Thank you for pointing that out. Okay, everybody got that? You guys cool? Okay, say next. It's Swift. It's fine here. Next. Oh, and do you see that IBI file that it says it creates? I have another video that talks about that as a data file, and that's very useful too. Whatever. Let's just do this first. So again, we're going to put that in there, hit create, and it goes in there. Here again, here's all the things that we did in the last class. We're going to be using the same kind of code for this project as well. But I figured if we do this, this will really reinforce your ability to use the table view because we're doing it twice. Okay. So here we go. We're going to go to the storyboard file, and once we get to the storyboard file, we're going to go and select the actual this one right here, the table view right there. Now you need to make sure that you tell it that you want a subclass of UI Table Controller. Select the Table View Controller and assign Emoji Table View Controller in its subclass. Where do we do the subclass for this? Again, I'm selecting this side where it says Table View over here. I'm making it blue over here. So what we need to do is tell it where the programming that we just made, right? You made a Cocoa Touch thing. We need to assign it to this table view right here. How do we assign it? We go over here to the little square one here, whatever this one's called, the Identity Inspector. Right here, the Identity Inspector, and then right here where it says Class, do you see it? Just make sure your emoji table view is there. That way we can now program it. So again, how you tell the programming to be attached to this table view, the programming we just made, you select this, make it blue, go to the little square one that's up there, and make sure it's in there. Now we can program that, and that's prepared. Are you cool with that? Continue. Emojis. Love my emojis. Love emojis. Again, they talk a little bit about what's going on here, so let's read. Build and run your app. At this point, you should see an empty table view inside a navigational controller. Basically, you'll have lines. You have white boxes and lines. So if you test it right now, it'll go and in your simulator, you just have a box with a bunch of white white boxes with lines in it. No, not one at all. I thought it would show. Is it coming? Something's coming. Root View Controller. There we go. At least we got the title there. Hey, we got the title there, with no table cells. There we go. You got lines on yours? Yeah. I thought there would be lines. Mine doesn't have. So maybe it's my simulator. because my simulator is kind of messed up because of the projector. Well, you might have lines, you might not. How about that? But it should work. Didn't give me an error message. Oh, it did give me an error message. What is this? Uh-oh.
Yeah, I have one too.
Must have reuse. Yeah, it's saying that your cells don't have anything in it. The reuse identifier that it's talking about is actually for the data, I believe. Okay, let's move on. Again, I'm on page 514. Table view comes in two styles, plain and grouped. Okay, and so they give you an example of what group looks like. So if you look there, you'll see that it has notifications, support, and available 24/7. You see that? So those would be kind of the group, and then the pieces underneath it would be the sub of the group, right? A plain style is the default. In plain view, table rows can be separated into labeled sections with an optional index along the right edge of the table. Each section immediately follows the previous section with no spacing, creating an unbroken list. In group table views, rows are displayed in visually distinct groups or sections. Ooh, they got some bigger groups there, with spacing in between and without an index. In addition to the default non-editing mode, table views can enter an editing mode, which enables user to insert, delete, or reorder cells. So that might be a good thing. I was thinking about that. So it's almost like in your email, right, where you slide it to the left and it comes up with a red delete button, right? And then you hit the X and it goes away. So that's what I guess that's the editing mode right there. As well as reordering, and it looks like you can drag them around, I guess. I don't know. I haven't really reordered my emails before. Can you reorder your emails? I never even tried that. You can? Yeah, I've never even tried it. Okay, let's look at what can be in your table view. Every row in the table view is represented with a table view cell or UI table view cell. Instance cells are reusable views that can display text, images, or any other UI view element. So you can put other things in there. You're not limited to this. You know, you can put maybe a text area that has more text. So I thought of it as well, maybe of doing a national park thing and putting the first table with that. Maybe, I don't know. I was thinking header. I'm still struggling on how to make that work with a table view. Maybe it's the wrong approach. I don't know. But let's move on. In editing mode, the cell content size shrinks to allow the room for editing and reorder controls. The UI table view cell class defines three properties for the table cell: the label, detail. The detail would be like a subtitle underneath it, and then image view. So you have an image, a title, and a subtitle in each one, and we will do that with our database. Our database will have those in each. The UI kit framework defines 4 standard cell types, all of the class. UI table view cell style. Each style has its own layout and content properties and may not support all 3 properties. So they say there's different ones in there, and so they show you. Here are some of them. Again, on page 517, you'll see you have basic one, and it gives you a little look of what it looks like, right? If we look there, let me try and zoom here. I'm trying to zoom here. I guess I can't. Can I zoom? I guess not. Well, if you look there, you can see you get an image with just a table view, right? Default. Then you can add a subtitle. You can see that right there. That's underneath the main title. And then you can add some right detail as well as left detail. But it looks like the left one doesn't have an image and it just has text. Do you see that? At the bottom of page 217 there. So those are kind of the basic one. Oh, I went past the page here. When the table view default view only mode, cells can display an accessory view. The iOS SDK defines 5 standard types of accessory views, some of which can respond to users' touches. On accessory view, like a button with a delegate method, you can respond and execute code when the user taps the accessory view. You'll learn about the delegate later in this lesson. We'll learn about delegates from the video, okay, as well. You got none, disclose indicator, detailed disclose, and checkmark. Checkmark accessory controls says controls does not track touches.
Do they have the 2 images on that?
Images?
It looks like the check mark should go with the
Yeah, it looks like the check mark should be at the bottom right now, and the info one should be there. Could be a bug there. I'm not sure. I like the arrow one though. So yeah, it doesn't look right. Looks like the check mark should be below. Return to your emoji project in the Tableview controller scene. Notice there is one cell under the prototype cell header. If you select the cell and open its attributes inspector, you'll see that many adjustable options, including style. Feel free to adjust the style to see your different options. Once you explore your different options, select the subtitle style. You'll use that for your emoji project. So what they're talking about here is, let's get over here. So we're going to click right here on our cell. I clicked twice to make it blue. And then I went to here, and that's wrong. Again, let's click once. Click once with the white dot. Don't make it blue. Once with the square. Again, you might have to click off, click on, click off, click on, click off, click on. I know depending on how you click will depend. If you click here, you'll notice here's the style that they're talking about in the book. If you click here, these are the ones that they just talked about. You have your basic, your right detail, left detail, and subtitle. The subtitle one probably has the most because you get a label as well as a subtitle as well as an image all in the same piece. So if you come down here to where it says subtitle right here, you'll notice it'll actually put in a title and a subtitle right here. And then we will put an image, or we don't have to put an image in. Actually, we're going to put an emoji in. Not an image, it's an emoji. The emoji will go in the title option. I think the basic one had an image though, right? Did you try? Let's try the basic one. No, it just has a title. But I think you could drag an image in. That's what we did with the last one, right? The one we did last week. We had a photo, right? And then I gave you mine, which had little symbols in them, right? Okay, so I think that was basic because I never changed this. So it was probably default. And then remember, we dragged an image in and put it into the cell, right? Okay, so keep that in mind. I don't know. Let's go to subtitle here. This is the one.
What were we supposed to select for our subtitle?
Just subtitle. That's the only it. And I don't see image here. I don't know what that's for. It did say you can use a background image, and some of you were asking me about a background image. It did say you can use a background image. You would have to program it probably as an array with images. But it did talk about that somewhere, either this one or another lesson that I was reading. By default, the table view still takes up the entire width of the table view. This may cause readability issues on larger screens. It's hard to read a very long line of text, but there's a fix. By setting the cell layout margin follow readable width property to true, the width of your table cell will stay within the readable margins. I didn't do that. I didn't know where that was at. So, I don't know. I'm not worried about it. It's just a cell phone. It's not going to have text. I guess if you were making an iPad, that would be important probably. Let's move on. So under index paths, many of the API methods for text table views either accept an index path as a parameter to return an index path. As you might guess, an index path points to a specific row. Let's turn the page. Specific sections of a table view can access these values through the row and section properties. Just like an array, these values are zero-based. So this thing called index path, and I know it's kind of confusing because we're used to our HTML having an index, right, the first page. And so this is kind of, I guess they're probably assuming that's the kind of term. That's maybe why they use index. I'm not sure. But it's a way of defining how to put the data in, right? This is the data. It's like defining the line. Okay, here comes the hard part. Let's go to page 251. Table views are ideal for displaying a collection of similar data that are typically backed by a collection of a model object. This collection is usually an array, although it's also possible to use another collection such as a dictionary. Why is an array the best match with a table view? An array has property count to query how many objects it contains, which can then inform the table view how many rows to display. In addition, arrays and index path values are both zero-based, which simplifies accurate addressing, right? We start at 0, 1, 2, 3. Back to the emoji dictionary. I don't know why they're calling it emoji dictionary when they're actually using an array. I know that's kind of confusing, but hey, I found that a little confusing myself. In your emoji class, you'll need to add a property to the access an array of emoji instances. This array will contain the emoji you want to display in the table view. Add a property named emojis of type emoji to your emoji table view controller class and assign it to an array of several emoji instances. Feel free to create your own instance in the several predefined emoji instances provided below. While it could be argued that the plural of emoji is emoji, for the sake of clarity, always a programmer's goal. Emojis with an S is the best name for your array. So where do we put this? Okay, again, we're going to be putting it in the actual view controller right here, the emoji table view controller. And we're going to put it up at the top up here underneath the table view controller right here, kind of right after the class right there. So again, this code that you see there, and I'm not going to type all these in, it'll take me too long. In fact, I should probably just put in the one I've done already, and I should have put it on Canvas and we just copy and paste it. I should have done that for you. But you need to learn how to get the emojis out of Xcode. If you have never put the emojis in Xcode before, we're going to go and do it right now. So the first thing is we're going to put a variable in there, and that variable is going to be emojis with an S. Emojis with an S. Emojis. A-M-O-G-I-S. Yes, colon. And then we're going to define it with the square brackets, and it's going to be emoji with a capital M, like that. And then we're going to then put it equal to our array that we're going to build. An array is going to start with the square bracket right there, and we're going to put in our emoji. Okay. So each one's going to have a symbol of that. Remember remember when we made the class above? Remember the class that we made? We're using the same names as the first class we made, right? Remember the class that's in this one, the Emoji Swift, using the same words. So let's just do a few. I don't want to sit here and do this all day. We're going to do emoji like that, and that emoji is going to have a symbol. And in that symbol, we're going to put an emoji. To get to the emojis in Xcode is underneath View. And then you have, hold on, it's somewhere in here. I know they're here. I found them. Oh, here they are. They're under Edit. Emojis and Symbols. So go to Edit. That will bring up your emojis, and you can just drag them right into your code. So if you, again, under Edit, Emojis and Symbols, you get your emojis right here, and you can choose which one you want. We're going to do smiley face. I think you just double click on it. There it goes. It puts it in there. Emoji smiley face, comma name, and then the name is going to be grinning face. Oops, grinning face. And then make sure you put quotes around everything, because remember, these are symbols. Description is going to be a typical smiley face. Smiley face. And then usage. And then that is going to be happiness. Happy. Okay, so that's one. Whoosh, round bracket, colon. So one. So then you can actually go, and what I did was I copied and pasted this and just changed the content. So what I did was I copied everything here up to the word emoji right there. See that? And then I copied it, and then I pasted it, and then changed it. So we don't want this symbol. We're going to do a different one. I don't know what one they have there. They got, they have an angry face. Is it this one? This one. Oops, I clicked it twice. And then this is, what kind of face is this one? Confused, like me. Confused all the time. Confused face. And then, I liked to be confused. How about that? And usage. Unclear. I'm just making this up on what to do. Okay, again, I'm going to do another copy and paste here. And the reason why you want to, if you're going to make these up like I'm making them up, try and organize them in groups, because later in the lesson they're going to take, and the smiley faces will be in a subgroup, and then these ones down here will be in a subgroup, and so they'll teach you how to group things together. So if you're making these up, make like 3 smiley face ones and then 3 kind of crazy character ones, because later on you'll be grouping them together. So let's do 3 smiley face ones. They have heart, I guess. What are heart eyes? Heart eyes, heart eyes. Heart eyes. There we go. Heart eyes. And this one's called heart eyes, I think, yeah. Heart eyes. And then what is a heart eyes used for? It's a smiley face with smart? No. With smiley face with heart eyes. And then what is it used for? Love or something attractive. Whoosh. Okay, so that, and then again, like I said, make like a few more that are different symbols so that we can learn to group them together. So I'm going to go down here. You can do, they did like police officer, but I'm going to put some people in there. So make a section with smiley eyes and then make a section with people, and that should be enough. Once we do that, or animals, they got animals too. How about we put a graduation person in there? No. I can't put a graduation. There we go. Graduation person. There we go. Graduation face. And then description. Graduating from college. Usage. Woohoo. Moving on. Okay, let me do 2 more. I'm going to do 2 more. I'm going to do animals. Let me do 2 more. Oh, they got shopping carts. Oh, look at all. They got dragons. This one's quite popular, right? The little panda bear one. Ooh, I like the mouse one. Oh, I put 2 of them in there. Wrong spot. I want to put him in there. There he is. Mouse face. Description. Happy mouse. And uses for nighttime wandering. Wander. W-O-N-D. Wandering. Wandering. Okay. And let me do one more. Last one. I'm going to do one more. Oh, I like the duck. Should we have a duck? Or you want the chicken? Oh, the chicken's cute. Chicken. Chicken. A chicken face. Chicken face. And what would the chicken be used for? Breakfast. There we go. Chicken breakfast. There we go. Breakfast? Breakfast? Breakfast. Okay. Whatever, just do a couple. You don't have to do, they have a big long list here, and I guess the reason why they have a big long list in there is so that you can scroll, right? They want to show you the scrolling feature. I just don't have time to put all these in here. So I just put a few in, but make sure you have some groups so that later on they'll go over how to group them. I don't know if we'll get to that today, but they will talk about how to put them in categories, I guess, groups. So I have animals, I have 1 graduation person, and I have 3 smiley faces. Okay, let's move on. So the next section that they talk about here in page 522 in the book, they talk about the dilemma. And of course, the dilemma has to do with what we talked about last class, and that is the data, right? Because you have a lot of cells. Memory is very difficult on a cell phone, right? You know, these things don't have as much memory. Plus, you're dealing with data that's going over a cell phone network. So they talk about dequeuing here. And again, the dequeuing part here is fear not to address this very issue. Table views load only when visible cells, plus a few more, just outside the visible field for quick access. Think about it. The user scrolls through a table view, cells leave the visual field, and the others are displayed in their place. Typically, the cells entering the visual field are the ones that are left in visual field moments ago. So you could be feasible to take the cell that's just left and reuse it as the cell that is about to enter, right? This process called dequeuing, I believe, is a precise how table views manage their cells. You can register each cell type in your table view with reusing identifier string. The table view can then manage a stockpile of cells for each reused identifier. When you want a cell, you use the table view instance method. So again, they have a dequeuing reusable cell identifier for passing the reuser identifier for the desired cell type, which asks the table view instance for the next cell in the stockpile. So where is this at? Okay. Well, if you look in your code here, and I'm done with my smiley face, I'm going to close that. If you look down below here, down here is the table view. Let table view dequeuing reusable cell with identifier re-identify for path. So down here they actually have it kind of laid out already, but then you put the cell in here. I think we were doing that with the last example. Do you remember that? I think in the last example they were doing the same thing. To register your cells, return to the emoji dictionary in your storyboard. Select the table view cell. In the attributes of it, you'll be able to see the reusable identifier option. Add a reused identifier emoji cell. Your cell is now registered. So I don't know if we have to type this in or where we would type it. Where do you think we would type this? Mm-hmm. I don't know if I should.
Part of the emoji class, maybe?
Yeah, I don't really desire type as table view instance in Excel stockpile. Let me go back page. The process called dequeuing is precisely how the table view manages their cells. You can register each cell type in your table view with a reuse identifier string. The table view can then manage a stockpile of cells for each reused identifier. When you want a cell, you use the table view instance method, passing the reusable identifier for the desired cell type, which asks the table view instance for the next cell in the stockpile. So, well, it's a
reuse identifier emoji cell.
I guess it's up here because it's a constant, huh? Would we put it here under the view controller? I was able to go and put it, I don't remember what I did here. I don't know if I typed this in here. Well, let's try it. Spelled table. Table view. What's that? Doesn't like it there? Yeah, I don't know if this is right. What's that?
In the comment section.
Down here? It's probably down here somewhere. That's here.
It's very similar, change the
Yeah.
use identifier.
Yeah, let's delete this. Not there. That's what I thought would be down here. I got rid of this. This is what I did, I think, last time, is I got rid of the comments here. And then and then the identifier is what called? Cell. Like that. How about that? I think that's what I did in my last time I did this.
So where was it?
Down below, if you scroll down, you'll see it says override function table view, and then it says UI table view cell, and then it says let cell table view DQ reusable cell identifier, and then put cell in here. Capital C. Woo. Capital C. Then they ask you to go and assign add reuse identifier emoji cell. Your cell is now registered. How do we do this? To register your cells, return to the emoji dictionary in your storyboard, select your table view cell. In the attributes inspector, you'll be able to see the reusable identifier option. Add a reusable identifier emoji cell to your cell is now registered. Again, they tell you to go back to here, click, it's already selected here. And then identifiers right here, and it says reusable identifier there, and we're going to call it, see how it says right here, identifier. So again, click it, make it a little square, and then they tell you to put in what emoji cell, right? EMOJICELL, like that, emoji cell. Oh, that was.
Is that a different identifier than when they said with identifier you put cell?
The emoji cell?
So they're telling you to call the identifier emoji cell, but when we defined the code, we called the identifier just cell. Is it supposed to be the same?
No, I'm thinking that
If you look at the if you look at the directions in the book, it says use identifier if the name is just called cell. And then when we create our reuse identifier, we call it emoji cell. I'm just wondering if that's a typo or if that's intentional.
Yeah, I don't know why. I'm going to leave it like that and move on. If we have problems, we'll come back and try and change it. I think it's trying to link the two together, the emoji word and the word cell. So it's the cell within the emoji. Okay, let's move on. A dynamic table view object must have a data source object and may or may not have a delegate object. Following the MVC design model, you'll learn about the earlier lesson, the data source mandates between the table view and your app data model. On the other hand, the optional delegate manages the appearance minus the actual cells and the behavior of your table view. But protocols can be adopted by another type. The UI Tableview class itself doesn't have the method or properties to confirm its own content. Instead, the Tableview delegate that responsible to other objects. The data object and the delegate are often but not necessarily the same object. Typically, this object is your custom subclass of the UI Tableview controller. And when we get to the video, it'll explain all that. Whatever they just said in there, wait till you see the video. It'll come a lot clearer. There's a video we're going to watch in about half hour. It'll explain a lot of what they just said there. As a reminder, protocols define methods and properties for the object, confirming the protocol to implement. Now that you understand the general differences between the two table view protocols, you'll explore a specific method defined by the protocols. The data source, which adopts the UI table data source protocol, is responsible for providing the necessary data to the table object view. Take a moment to think about the minimum information a table view would need to display its content. It needs to know how many things to display, rows, and what is in each row or cell. To provide information, you'll implement methods in the data source. For now, You'll focus on 3 data source methods: number of sections, number of rows in each section, and a method called awkwardly cell for the row in an index path. So again, you see you have optional function number of cells. Then they have is an integer because it's going to be a number. Function table view number of rows is also an integer, and function table view cell for row at is also. When the table view loads or reloads its data, a queue that data source by calling each of these methods sometimes multiple times to request information for the visible row. Based on the parameters of these cells, it's the data source job to return the request info. As the user scrolls through the table view, different rows become visible. The table view will also query the data source for information to fill in the rows about the display. In the next 3 sections, you'll explore parameters of each function, and your job as the programmer will implement these functions. Okay, so I'm looking to see where we put all this.
It's the first one.
First one?
It's after. It's the third function down. Number of there.
This one right here. Okay, let's see. Function number of sections in table view UI table initiate return 0. So we need to put a number in there. So let's turn the page. I think I remember they actually put something in there. Where did I put it in there? No. So here we go. So this one is function override. No, optional function. Number of sections. This is override function. And this one's number of sections here. And this one's row path. And then we put cell in there, right there, right? I don't know if we have to change this or not. We need to put the count in there is what you need to do, because the count is what's telling it how many rows you have.
But they're saying that if you have different sections, you may be asking for a different subsection.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the optional, if you choose not to write this function, the table view will assume only one section. Okay, let's move on. Now that the table view knows how many sections, it needs to know how many rows in each section. This method has 2 parameters: the table view requesting the information and the section in question. Based on these parameters, your job is to return the initial representing the number of rows. This required method would be called every section in your table view. Cell for table for row at index path. The display view now knows how many sections and how many rows in each section to display. What will go on in each row, the exact what table view asked of the last method. The cell row and the index path is another required method with 2 parameters: the table view requesting the cell and which index path to place in the cell. Your job is to return a fully functioning cell for your table view to display. Well, each implementation of cell for row at index path will be different. Most will adhere to the following steps: fetch the correct table cell type by dequeuing a cell, fetch the method object to display, configure the cell properties with model object properties, set views, label views, image views based on the object model, Return fully configured cell. Implementing the data source. It's time to implement your Tableview data source. Since you're using a Tableview subclass, your Tableview already has a data source assigned to the Emoji Tableview controller instance. Open the Swift file for your Emoji Tableview controller. Notice that the 3 data source methods are already defined for you except for the incomplete implementations warning. So now what? First, the Tableview will query your data source for its size. You'll tell the Tableview how many sections it has. In Emoji Dictionary, we'll have 1. Next, modifier number of sections in to return 1. Then delete the comment about an incomplete implementation. You should also remove the implementation of number of sections in completely, and the Tableview will assume it has 1 section. However, it's good habit to clearly define your Tableview rather than relying on default values. Next, you'll need to tell the Tableview how many rows in each section in Tableview, number of rows. You will know which section is being requested by the parameter section. In the Emoji Dictionary, you will have 1 section. Add the following to the number of rows in section. So what do you think we need to do? We got to delete. So now what? First, the Tableview will query your data source for its size. You'll tell the Tableview how many sections it has. In Emoji Dictionary, you'll have 1.
So the first one we have to return, or the number of sections we need to just return hardcode 1.
Right here? Number of rows?
No, section.
Oh, this one right here.
Yeah.
So we need to put in what?
1.
In Tableview.
Change 0 to 1, return 1.
Oh, there we go, 1. Okay. And then this one down here, number of sections.
Yeah, that we have to add the code that says if section equals 0.
So down here we need to put in if section equals 0. Where would we put it? Right here, where the return is?
Before the return. Yeah, where the return is.
Yeah, I think we get rid of the return.
Yeah.
Then we put in if section is equal to 0, then we return emoji count. That's how many emojis we got in there. And then else return 0. And we're missing what? Uh-oh. Identify emoji. Is it a capital E?
S, you're missing the plural element.
Oh, emojis with an S. Oops. Emojis with an S. The code above returns the count of your emoji array for section 0. Remember that cell addressing is 0 base. This means your table view can be updated in runtime by modifying the array and relocating your table view. For example, if you add an emoji to the emojis array, the count of the array will increase by 1, so we can add more to the array. As you did earlier, delete the comment about incomplete implementation. I guess we got to delete that. Delete that. Since the Emoji Dictionary view has 1 section, you could remove the conditions in the number of rows in section method and simply return the count of the emojis array. However, a good place to practice your return value on the actual section. Now that the table view knows how many rows, the table view will query the data source to get the cells for each row. To expose the method, you will need to uncomment it. Delete the before method and after next. So where? In the data source? Where's it saying? I think we did that already, right? Did we do that already?
Wait, hold on. Maybe they're talking about down
This
below.
one down here?
I think maybe it's talking about down below.
Now that the table view knows how many rows, the table view will query the data source to get the cells for each row. To expose the method, you'll need to uncomment it. This one right here, conditional rearranging of table view, or arranging table view. Or is it this one? Override to support conditional editing the table view.
I feel like there were comments around these.
Just we should change the identifier to emoji cell. We wrote cell
Which one?
in the top
This one?
emoji cell.
That works? This should be emoji cell?
I think
Like that? Not just cell. So which one do I comment out?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know which one. Let's get rid of that. But this says return cell here, cell there, and you're... Okay, let's just leave it there. Okay, let's move on. Let's see. First, you'll ask the table view to dequeue a cell. Following a line will return a table view cell instance of the same type you registered in the storyboard with the emoji cell identifier. Let cell table view dequeue identifier emoji cell for the index path. The second step is to get the appropriate model object to display in the cell. In this example, the emoji instance associated with the row. Using the index path parameter, you can get the array index required to retrieve the correct emoji. Recall the index path has two properties: access the cell, sections, and rows. Since your table view has one section, you can ignore the section property, as it is the same in the case for every call you to cell for row at index. You'll use the row property instead of adding the following. Add the following line. Where would that be? In here, in the row?
I guess.
Somewhere right here? Because is this the row property? Oh, I don't see row there. This one's row right here. This is for the editing style. Let me see if I have a sample one here. Let me pause this for a moment. Okay, which one? In here?
Tableview.
This one right here?
That,
This
that
one.
that returns the here.
So here, you put in the let emoji path row index in there.
Yeah, and these two lines that text label and the written text label.
Emojis with an S.
Yeah.
Emojis. And then square bracket index path
That's row.
dot row. And then put in the other one.
Yeah. Set dot text label.
Text label.
Question.
Emoji symbol.
Yeah, emoji symbol.
Emoji name. Like that. EL. Like that. Then return cell.
Yeah.
And that's it. You want me to test? Uh-oh. I'm going to try it. Whoosh, confused faces for sure. That's me, this one. So all of it went into this table view one right here, this function. Next section, they talk about the table view delegate. Let's pause this and save this and watch. Let's watch the movie. I think you'll learn a lot from the video. It'll explain it a lot better than I can explain things. So I found. Let me stop this.